all of them are represented inside here where you can't see them, is that if it was possible or feasible, I rejected it. Right, so all or most or some of them are actually contravene the law of physics and thermodynamics. Most of which the nextahedron, I don't know whether you remember reading about the nextahedron, I think it's called. And this is a polyhedra that is unstable on all its faces. So it'll just fall onto its face and fall onto the next face and will just carry on forever, completely contravening thermodynamics, which is why it's fun. Little joke for all you physicists out there. Yay! There you go. I wish there were many. Okay, so what are we doing now? Are we moving on from there?
I think this must be the Tower of Brunel.
This is the Tower of Brunel, which I'm trying to think up something amusing to say, but I'm losing it slightly. It's an astonishing piece of work, isn't it? It is. I just like it. It's stable on all its sides. Clearly, we won't go back to the test, but I do like this. So, what is this cable here? Is this a cable car of some variety? What's going on here? What's this?
Is that the monorail?
Is this a monorail? Skyrail. Oh, there was a Skyrail, wasn't it? Or was that? Sometimes people, I do a lot of talks. I do a lot of library outreach these days, which is really, really good. I know there's a couple of people who've been to those, or know people who've been to them. And I've been doing them for I think a year. I'm in my second full year of them. I think I've been doing about a year and a half, and it's great fun because library visits. Libraries, obviously, we need to support. We need to support libraries big time, and whenever I go there, I always say, well, thank you just for turning up, because if you turn up to one of my talks at the library, you are supporting libraries. You walk in the door, you're supporting a library. So that's really good, and it's great fun. But we also have very different audiences, because these are not necessarily people who go to bookshops or festivals, they're just people who live round the corner and read my books. And that's a very interesting dynamic, and they often ask me questions like Skyrail, of which I've completely forgotten. And then they think I'm an imposter, and then I mention some other sort of bizarre part of my books, and they realise, no, it is you after all. But I do like the idea of the Skyrail, yes, I must say, it's very nice. Yes, not very, could be a little bit tighter. But otherwise, very nice, very nice. I like that. Yeah, there was a subplot they never used about a Neanderthal who actually hijacked an elevator. He was in an elevator saying, I want you to take me to Bahrain, because he didn't understand it. But it's kind of not like Neanderthals; they just wouldn't do that. So although it was a good joke, it was like, went in the bin. Like many jokes and ideas of mine. Anyway, it just wasn't Neanderthal. Right. So what have we got? Site of the Cathedral of St. Svulks. Just here, are you focusing in? With a mole, perhaps? Is that a mole? What is that little creature? Oh, is that St. Svulks? St. Svulks, he's only called St. Svulks because I thought it was funny because the audiobook wouldn't be able to pronounce it. Zivilkix. Zivilkix. It's crazy. It's St. Svulks. Obviously. Yeah, so I thought that was really funny, because whenever people say that to me about, various parts of the book or the printing process or anything like that, I go, how can I have a cheap joke, a lame joke, sorry, that would be correct. And I thought I put it in St. Svulks. There's a Mr. Grunsk, who also is in the Well of Lost Plots, I think. Yes, thank you. Fact checking, thank you for that. And I put it in there, and of course I get this call, I forget all about it, of course, think about lame jokes, so you forget all about it. And then they rang me, the producer of the audiobook, and say, hi, it's the audiobook. And I go, oh, brilliant, still not forgetting, not remembering. And go through pronunciations, and they go through all the normal ones, and then get, what is this? And I go, well, whatever you want, they get, no, you're the author. So that backfired. Okay, what have we got here? Oh, sorry. Okay, so this is, are we talking about Swindon's only jogger? So Michelle, Swindon's only jogger. So we used to do these actually when budgets were huge, because they used to have like 3.2 million to spend on the Fiesta. And when attendees were like 9, you know, and we could put them in a bus. So we used to do double-decker bus tours of Swindon, which was quite exciting, and I used to sort of just make up stuff. I mean, I used to report on what I saw. And there was always a jogger. And it's a bit like the pineapple in the name that fruit, that we always have to see a jogger. Because the thing about joggers is you always see them jogging, you never see them enter a building. And it's like, and they only exist to jog. Yeah, so we're always interested about that. So, okay, so we got Michel Swindon's only jogger here. But then we have Michel's understudy. In case Michel is not jogging. And I think you've got, I do like this, because this is entering the realm of meta joggers. That's the understudy of the understudy, which I think is quite a good idea. And then you have the understudy of the understudy of the understudy of the understudy. So that's very useful, obviously. And then we have Michel's stalker. We did actually have official stalkers for a while, and if you remember, I think Milan de Floss originally starts as a sort of stalkering, but not in a bad way, just in a kind of fan way, who eventually ends up actually a pal. So that's quite nice. Doesn't usually work out that way. That was the sort of story plotline that I kind of let go fairly early on. You kind of do that when things get weird. Anyway, then you have Michel's stalker. Because if you remember, Milan de Floss also had his own stalker, because he was such an important stalker. You know, we do like meta things. Where am I going? We have an interloper from Chippenham. Okay. Ooh, yeah. You can see people who in Swindon, you know, not huge fans of Chippenham. Then some of them. Is there a organiser is that Jill? Yeah, there you go. Jill's Chippenham. Interloper. So that's it. Then you have another interloper from Chippenham, and then of course we have to have the interloper from Chippenham Stalker. So it all gets very complex, very complex. And over here we have a jogger on holiday from the Isle of Man. There we go, Galathopolis, as we know. So I think that's all the meta understudies we have at the moment. Yes. So say no to cheese. We have here. Yeah. The cheese enforcement agency. Yeah, the cheese thing. This is quite interesting. It's one of those things. It's like the Toast Marketing Board, where it's kind of funny, but you don't know why. And I kind of really like jokes that are funny, but you don't know why. And I think there was quite an early joke in one of the. I think it was Big Over Easy with Jack Spratt, and you meet someone who has the same name, and he goes, "My name's Martin." You go, "Hello." And it's like, "My name's actually Martin." Martin goes, "Hello, hello." And I think that's a really good joke, but I could not explain why that is funny. I mean, it's the same way as toast and cheese, and why lobsters are funny but crabs aren't. Don't know. Very odd. Anyway, the cheese thing was actually I wrote that during the oil tanker strike. Back in the days of Tony Blair. Do you remember Tony Blair? Yeah, what happened to him? Obviously after he left power, he decided to just retire into, obscurity and not do anything at all, or have sons who own, AI companies. So the reason I did it is because the government at the time didn't know Tony Blair didn't know what to do with a wildcat tanker strike where there was no one to talk to, because all the tankers drivers were just saying, no, we're not doing it because we're not making any money delivering the fuel. And he resorted to having people show pictures of little old ladies and saying things like, if you do not go back to work, right, this poor little old lady won't be able to get a hip replacement because of the duty, obviously, on fuel. And I thought, oh, yeah, sorry about that. Why do we have duty on fuel? Why do we not have it on cheese? And that's where it came from. And then, like many ideas I have, a bit of a tangent here. Many ideas I have, they have legs, and you can really exploit them. So just thinking about Neanderthals, actually a Neanderthal comes from the dodo, and as soon as Pickwick was unextincted, then it was like, well, it can't be the only one. We've got to have mammoths and Neanderthals. Aha! And of course, Stig, all the way through the series, has a nice little story arc of his own about species self-determination. which I think is a very interesting issue, you know, and ultimately, I think animals will have equal rights to humans, but it's going to be a long time. Anyway, so yeah, duty on cheese, but blow me down, in the way that these things work out is that stuff I write then becomes true, either because it becomes true afterwards, or it was true anyway, I just didn't realise it. But yeah, cheese duty is different, and apparently there was a big issue over the difference between cheese duty in North America, USA and Canada. Big issue. Yeah, you can look it up on Google. Anyway, but say no to cheese. And I thought cheese is funny, so we had all these really dangerous cheeses coming in from Wales. And it's always fun making up names for dangerous cheeses. You know, things like just don't. And then someone called it X29, I think. They just gave it a sort of chemical name. Anyway, so that's no to cheese. This is, what's that? Must be nanotechnology gone mad or something, have you thought? Or a giant meringue? Oh no, it was Mycroft's previous assistant. Didn't it? Do you remember he was it? Well, it doesn't. It is? Oh, that's so sweet.
It could be Owens though.
It could, Owens, was that his name?
Yeah.
Casey is my continuity checker. We'll talk a little about that later. So after I've read the book, right, then Mary usually has a read, and then it goes to editors, and at the same time it goes to editors, it also goes to Katie, because Katie has a huge brain, an amazing memory, and she shows me all the mistakes I've made in the book, of which there are many, ranging from people who have died, that I've reintroduced as characters, people who didn't even exist that I introduced as characters, and who the Swindon Whackers were playing. They were playing the Reading Whackers, Swindon Mallets, playing the Reading Whackers, and not the Gloucester Meteors, as I erroneously suggested. What an idiot! Oh, how stupid am I? So it's a huge thanks to Katie, who knows all this stuff. Oh yeah. So if you read Dark Reading Matter in October, which I know you're all going to do, and you find any mistakes, not my fault. Not that I want to, but
proactive.
yeah, no, it's all me. Okay, so right, say no to cheese. We quite like that. We've done some Volks, second coming or third coming, I think it was. What is this? Oh. The Tomb of the Unknown's. Did I put that actually in the book, did I? No?
That was just in your tour of Swindon.
Oh, was it? Okay. The Tomb of the Unknown Canoeist was actually quite near us. There is an outdoor sort of thingy where you go and do climbing and canoeing and stuff, and they stuck a canoe in the ground. We used to, giving directions to people, we go, well, just go on the road towards Brecon, and then at the Tomb of the Unknown Canoeist, to the left. Right, if you want to get to Targoth, and they go, what? And they go, the canoe sitting in the ground. And I was kind of hoping that that's what it would become known as. It didn't, but I kind of hoped. And then yes, so the Tomb of the Unknown Canoeist. Do we have things about roundabouts? Oh, we got around. Oh, let's move around here. Our Lady of the Lobster. Yeah, interesting one. Lobsters, many of you who come dressed in lobster shirts, thank you, and dresses and all kinds of things. I don't know why lobsters are funny, they just are. The bonus lobster for the lobster hunt, my wife and I, Mary over there, we've got little matching lobsters on our rings, so I know, it's so sweet, because she's like a little nipper. I originally had a trilobite on mine, it was the old fossil. But the trilobite just looked like a slug, so I wanted a lobster, so I had a lobster and but it's like our totem animal, so can't eat it. But langoustines are okay. Alright, so moving on. Well, yeah, why are lobsters funny? Don't know. I just carried on with lobsters. So, oh no, the idea was that they're going to inherit the earth, wasn't it? That was the subplot. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense because they've got the hard stuff on the outside and the soft stuff on the inside, so we're like the other way around. So we have the hard stuff on the inside and the soft stuff on the outside. It makes sense to me to have the hard stuff on the outside, right? And also, if you lose an arm, you can regrow it, right? And if you want an arm that can open a can of beans, right, that's what you'll regrow. And that, to me, strikes you know, actually a lot of sense. And eventually they're going to take over the world, and the blessed lady lobsters will be there to make sure they don't kill us all. So, good for them. I also like religious orders, nuns and religious orders. It's too much Sound of Music when I was a kid. Right, moving on. Oh, the double helix. So that's the double helix. That's not a cheese. Yeah, the double helix of Carfax. Yeah, so anyone who lived in Swindon or even has been on my website, yes, my old-fashioned looking website. I have classic website insurance for it now. It's quite cheap. And people who look at it who are actually in IT and come to me and they go, your website, Jasper, it looks like the sort of website you were making in 2002. And I went, yes, it is. It hasn't changed. And they go, it looks very old-fashioned. I went, yeah. That's the point. I said, is there a problem with it? They went, no, love it. So we justified text in about 2009, and that's the technological advance that we've had, really, in it. It's all still HTML, great, so I can just rewrite it and stuff. Where was I going with this? Oh yes, if you've been on there, you've seen the 7 Wonders of Swindon, and the double helix of Carfax is because I was hunting around for 7 wonders in Swindon. Right. Bit tricky. So yeah, the double it's no longer there. I'm sorry to say, it's one of those vanished wonders, like so many of them. You know, like the Colossus of Rhodes. You can mention the same sentence as the double helix of Carfax, which was essentially a entrance to a car park. But I sort of made up a little back history about it, about sort of conservation of momentum and stuff like that. So that's that. Looks a bit cheesy as well at the same time, doesn't it? Sort of like cheese. Double helix Carfax. Oh, the lighthouse of something. Alexandria Road. Yeah, that was quite lucky that I found an Alexandria Road because I started looking at the real wonders, and there's Alexandria Road, so I thought the lighthouse, like Alexandria Road, so that was quite good. And it was built there, if my memory serves, because in the 1840s there was a scare about rising sea levels. So they were building lighthouses inland. Very satirical. They're nice. That's what I like about jokes like that. It's like, oh, that's really silly, but actually there's this little sort of bedrock of seriousness about it, which is, I kind of like doing that stuff, because it makes me seem sort of vaguely intelligent when I'm not, clearly. But I kind of like that. But there was also some little mention about how you could read a book, but only in 2-second blasts over a minute and a half, which I thought was quite amusing as well. Anyway, and the Hanging Gardens of Babington. Babington was the closest to Babylon I could find in the Swindon A to Z, so that was the other wonders. Here they are. Very beautiful. Look at that, the Hanging Gardens of Babington. Yeah, I had to go over there and do some early Photoshop to make them appear really huge, but it was quite nice. Hanging gardens, hanging baskets. What's this? Okay. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it's for the lighthouse. Yeah, there we go. Right. So, what else have we got? Magic roundabout. I knew people who. I know someone still who lives around the area who doesn't go around the magic roundabout when they go to Swindon. They avoid it like the plague. I'm sure they're not the only one. I kind of like the magic roundabout, and I think I made up some backstory about it. But when they wanted to get rid of a whole lot of depleted plutonium in the sort of 60s, you know, the big problem. Well, you have 2 problems basically. You're trying to get rid of nuclear waste, but you're also trying to find a way to keep cars on the magic roundabout. And clearly the subcommittee was the same for both. And they said, okay, if we bury all our depleted, probably uranium actually, depleted uranium in the middle, right, the extra gravitational force will enable cars to stay in. And as long as you don't go round twice, you're probably clear of any health issues. So 3 or 4 times, quite dangerous. Carrier dosimeter if you do go round. Is it called dosimeter or dosimeter? Dosimeter. It is dosimeter. Yeah, I read these things, I never know what they are. So I remember years ago I referred to a singer as Sade, because I didn't know what it was. And if you're still thinking it's Sade, it isn't, it's Sade. Yeah, thank you. Okay, but Imagine how stupid you are when you say that in front of a daughter. Terrible. They just laugh silently in your face and you crush and die inside. Yeah, don't go yeah. Anyway, so magic roundabout, which I kind of like. And if you really want to go round a roundabout the wrong way, this is where you need to go. Because the contra-rotating anti-Semitic something, yeah, you go the wrong way around roundabouts. Which you go, or go to France, which I recommend. Or Hempstead, where there is another magic roundabout.
Colchester.
Colchester, thank you, Colchester. Yeah, is there anyone here from Colchester? Yay! I was over there the other day.
Are you? Oh,
Yeah.
the library.
In the library, giving a talk in the library, very nice library. Newly refurbished, very lovely. Ooh. Right, okay, where else are we going? The roundabout nursery? How does that work? Oh yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah, so I think one of the other things we're talking about is that Swindon actually makes roundabouts in huge petri dishes. This is where they make roundabouts, and they sort of make them in their grass or their little trees in the middle, like little silver birches, and they grow them in this little factory actually, and then they take them out, obviously, and then put them where they need to go. But at night or in the small hours of the morning, because otherwise, very dangerous, wide loads, So yeah, they make roundabouts in my mind. Okay, so what's this? Oh, the Elgin Llamas. This is a good story, the Elgin Llamas. I like the Elgin Llamas, and they were great fun to write a little backstory about how Lord Elgin went to South America and said, "Ooh, can I borrow a llama or two?" And then took like 20,000, because Lord Elgin did that sort of thing when he was going around nicking stuff off the Parthenon. So it was quite nice to write about it, the Elgin Llamas. And the Elgin Llamas kind of just really sort of slips off the tongue, just like the Elgin Marbles. Elgin Marbles, Elgin Llamas. So I kind of like that. This was a kind of featured thing. The Seven Wonders of Swindon was actually featured on, was it called Swindon Life, the website? Yeah, it was on Swindon Life. This is going back a while. And apparently some people saw it on the website and then came up to Swindon, especially to see the Elgin Llamas. They were from Cornwall. Not that we're going to, extrapolate any information from that at all. This is a very small sample group, so obviously, statisticians amongst you, we cannot make any sort of come to any conclusion about this. I'm just mentioning that they were from Cornwall, and they came to Swindon, and there were no llamas. So what did they do? They went and complained to the website, "How dare you, we came all the way, the children were very disappointed." Which is a bit I like, I'm not married, it was the children. They really set their heart on seeing some llamas. But I took it as a huge win because it showed that my very limited skills at Photoshop were good enough to fool someone. Back in the day. So that was quite fun, but I do like little llamas. There we go. Llamas. And a cage. I don't think you should cage llamas. They're actually urban llamas, so they just wander around. So you wouldn't cage them. They're quite sweet. The thing about llamas is, of course, you don't generally see in the UK. You always see the other ones. What are they called? Alpacas. Yeah. So whenever I meet, an alpaca, and if you own alpacas, the one thing that you're constantly talking about is it's not a llama. Right? You're constantly asked, "Oh, is that a llama?" No, it's an alpaca. So what I do is I go up and say, "Oh, is that a vicuna?" Because the vicuna is the smaller version of the alpaca. So do the same. It'll really brighten their day. Because they'll go, "Oh, you know about llamas," and then you can have a llama conversation, which can be quite interesting, actually. Okay, so where are we now? Thursday. Okay. Yeah, Thursday's mum's house, just here. I do location recce's. This is actually part of the sort of book writing process, and it's quite interesting from a sort of number of reasons. Firstly, it gives me an idea of where things are and how they relate to other places in the book. So I came up to Swindon just to figure out where Thursday and Landon lived, and also where Thursday's mum's house is, and I know exactly where it is, on the roundabout just over the other side of Swindon. So it's kind of important, but I did it quite often. It works the other way around. You get actually informed by the location I did a location recce for Reading as well, so and I think that's on the website, so you can actually have a little virtual tour of Reading, where St Sarah Bevan's mental hospital is, where the gingerbread man was escaped from, actually, in the fourth bat. But when I was writing Early Riser, of which we were delighted to see that they all sold. There were 12 copies and they all went really quickly, so it's got a little resurgence at the moment, which is quite nice. But in Early Riser, I went and did a little recce of Bronclis, which is very near Tulgarth, where it's set, and there was this sort of 13th century tower just there. And up until that time, the dormitoria were just sort of square, slightly sort of Soviet-style buildings, of which I didn't know how they were heated or how they functioned. But as soon as I saw the tower, I went, no, that's a dormitoria. And you have all the bedrooms around the side, and then you have a heat thing that goes up the middle, and that makes total and complete, utter sense. Yeah, so weirdly, turning up to actually do a recce actually makes, I thought, the sort of functionality of the world within the book work a lot better. And I do like my internal logic and functionality to actually be relatively sound. So anyway, right, where do we go now, apart from me? Are we finished? Oh, okay. Well, there you go then. Thank you.